You want to know how to go from basic and boring videos to something that feels professional and cinematic? I'm going to show you exactly how to do it with 5 key but simple tips that will make your videos 10 times more enjoyable to watch. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get to the 5 juicy tips, I want to talk to you a little bit about gear and the different gear that I opt to use depending on the style of content I'm shooting. Understanding what style of content you might be interested in creating is going to help you decide and determine on the gear that you should be going for. Now, I have 2 kind of main different setups. Let's talk about them. The first one's gonna be my studio talking head style setup. So that's if I'm gonna be sitting in this room and maybe not moving around that often, I'm gonna set up a significantly bigger setup than if I'm doing a run and gun style. So let's go through it quickly. Regardless of the camera you're using, I'm not gonna focus on that too much because likely you have a camera or you have a certain budget to get one, and there's plenty of information about which ones might be most beneficial. I'm using the A7S III and a 24-70 f2.8 lens, whatever. But I have it on this much bigger, much more stable tripod. This one is from K&F, and it's amazing to have this super nice big tripod with a really nice stable fluid head. It has this little quick mount release, so I can just pop this camera on and off if I want to. It's really nice and smooth and stable. It's got a leveler, and I can extend it to be like whatever height I want with these simple little locking clips. Then next on here, I am generally going to be shooting with a monitor because I want to be able to kind of see what I'm doing. So this monitor is a Vultrox monitor. It's the DC550 Pro. I've spoken about it before and I really like this as a monitor. And I'll face it back on myself like this so that I can just see what's going on, making sure not to look at the monitor when I'm talking and rather look at the lens. I don't want to fuss with having batteries and stuff in the back of this monitor. So what I've gone ahead and done is got a V-mount battery to power the monitor and anything else that I might want to power as well. This gives me a massive runtime so that I can power everything like the monitor, any microphones. I can even power the camera off of this. So super helpful. And I can just plug it in with USB-Cs, D-taps, and a bunch of other things. It's V-mount, so I just got it mounted on the back of this little small rig plate, and I can move it out of the way, get my screen out, do whatever I want there. Super useful for my studio setup. One of the absolute essentials for any studio setups is some sort of key light, like this one right here. This is a really nice little light from K&F Concept as well. The thing I like about this is that not only is it super tiny and small, you can power it via USB-C if you choose to. So I could even power it from that V-mount battery and not need any house or shore power to plug into this, which means I can take it outside, I can take it out onto some location that I wanted to, and I could still use this little light. It's really nice. You can change the color temperature, you can pick between a couple of different modes. I really like the form factor. It kind of feels like an old high 8 camera or something. It's got this nice textured kind of leather, looks super vintage and cool. This is a great light, super affordable. I think something important to note when you are just starting out with your YouTube videos is that you don't need a big crazy lighting setup. It's not more light equals better light. It's just one key light right here is gonna make the biggest difference. My next recommendation is gonna be my kind of run and gun setup for either when I'm moving around my camera angle a lot like this and I don't want a big heavy tripod with all this crazy stuff. I'm gonna put my much smaller camera on here, first off, the ZV-E1, and it's just gonna have a nice little kind of wide lens. And the other thing I'm gonna change out is the tripod that I'm gonna be opting to use. This is a nice lightweight small tripod from K&F. It's super nice and nifty to use, and I can just throw the camera on this and be much more mobile and agile. It's got a nice ball head on top. It's got this nice little quick release plate that matches all of my other kind of run and gun style plates so that I can easily swap between things or take them on and off. It's got this little extendo tube. This tripod actually has a secret weapon, which I'm gonna show you in a second. And it's one of the reasons why I really like this one. I often find myself wanting to get kind of top-down shots or shots where I can just get unique perspectives, get above things. Maybe it's above my laptop to show something interesting. And this tripod lets you unscrew your main ball head, re-screw on this little boom arm essentially, and then reattach your actual head. And then that means you can get super cool like top-down angles like this with this tripod. Some other lights that I think are really nice to just spice up your frame is practical lights. That just means any lights that you're actually seeing within my shot. So whether it's this little blue one that I'm tucking under the plant here just to light it up, or maybe this red one over here that I'm just using to kind of light up my background. You can also use normal house lights, like kind of light bulbs, or different lights that you might have in your house that you can put in the background, a bedside light, something in that nature. It helps add depth to your shot and just create something a little bit more interesting than if it was just all off. Okay, let's get on to the tips. And the first one is picking your scene to be able to create a nice image. Now this is bad, and I'm gonna tell you why. I film multiple different scenes within this little space, but there's a few things I always keep in my mind when I do frame up this shot. So here they are. The first one is to create depth by pulling yourself away from the background. See how close I am to this background right now? It doesn't leave any room to have depth in our shot. So imagine if I just pulled myself away to somewhere like here. It's kind of the same framing, but there's significantly more depth within my frame because that background has been pushed away. The other thing this is gonna help with is if you don't have a lens that has a very fast aperture, it's gonna help you just get more of a blurry background because of that separation by pulling yourself away. So the first thing to look out for is try not to squish yourself up against your backgrounds, and rather have those backgrounds as another layer that you can separate yourself from. Whenever I'm looking for my frames, there's a few things that I rarely focus on. Composition is gonna make a huge difference to how your finished video actually looks. And as I film my videos in here, for sometimes every different line of dialogue, I've got a pretty good idea of what I look out for when I'm reframing my shots. And one of the most important is looking for leading lines. This is basically anything in your environment that kind of leads the viewer's attention to the part of the frame that you want them to focus on. Generally probably gonna be yourself. So if I'm in an environment like this, I'm just gonna look out for where I might place myself that'll have some sort of leading lines going towards me. One of the easiest ways to do this is to shoot into the corner of a room instead of onto a flat wall. By shooting into the corner, you're naturally creating everything drawing into this background. I'm also looking out for things like the top of this monitor is pointing straight to my eyes. This light is pointing straight to my eyes. This thing in the corner of the room is pointing straight onto the top of my head. And there's multiple other things here that are kind of all just pointing in to myself. That's gonna help keep the viewer engaged in me and pay attention to me rather than being distracted by a busy background. Next up, let's talk about lighting. This is one of the dead giveaways between a beginner and a pro looking scene when you're filming your YouTube videos. Let's keep it simple. We're gonna be talking about one key light. The main thing you wanna do here is not put your key light straight in front of you and fill out your face, creating too even of a light source. We wanna make it more kind of moody than that and focus on the absence of light on one of the sides of your face. If I was to look at my room or my space that I'm gonna be filming in, one of the first things I'm gonna do is assess where my natural light source is already coming from. Don't try and fight against that natural light, but rather lean into it and use your light to further motivate the already existing light. So right here, I have a key light just off of frame right here that is coming from the same direction where all of my windows are coming from. And that's just gonna further light this up. It's also leaving a really nice shadowed side on this side to create a much more moody look. And you can see with this little demo, if your light is too even, it doesn't create that much of an interest in your shot. There's no depth, it's kind of too flat. But by moving your light either more around to the side or positioning yourself more away from the light, creates a nice moody kind of depth, cinematic feeling within your shot. The other thing I want to mention about key lights, and a very important note, is you should be using diffusion, some sort of softbox. If you don't have one, put a sheet or something in between your light and yourself. But something very important to note is that the closer the light is to you, the more soft it's going to be. If you think about something like the sun, that is only such a harsh light because it's so far away, even though that light source is actually massive. It's so far away that the light becomes very hard and sharp by the time it hits you. It's the same with our softboxes. And if they're like 2 or 3 meters away, they're gonna be much harder than if they're only like half a meter away. So get it as close as you can to your face. One more important note I wanna mention about key lights before we move on, something that a lot of beginners miss, is the brighter your key light is hitting your subject, the darker your background is going to be. Once your key light is very bright and illuminating your subject, you're gonna have to compensate for that by changing the exposure on your camera. And as long as there's not too much roll off from this light lighting up your background, as you adjust that exposure on your camera to not overexpose your subject, that background is actually gonna fall away into darkness. It's up to you where you wanna go on this. You could make your key light very dim so that your background is much lighter and keeping a lot of that in like a nice lit environment. Or if you want to lose some of that background, you could pump your key light and make it really bright, making your background get a lot darker. Next up is something that is so often overlooked by beginners, and that's that audio matters more than you think. Bad audio is an immediate turn off for your viewers. If your audio is annoying or uncomfortable to listen to, those viewers are going to immediately click off and go and find something else to watch, even if your visuals are absolutely amazing. So spend a bit of extra time and put a bit of extra thought into capturing your audio. It's half of the viewing experience. Something I kind of like to do is generally shoot with one of these little lav mics. It's a wireless mic. I use the Rode Go 2 specifically, but you can use any sort of wireless microphone. It just ensures that your audio source is close to your mouth. And I can also move around in my frame as much as I want, and my audio is going to remain the same, which is nice for these kind of videos when I want to jump around different angles. If you're doing something more where it's just a locked off talking headshot, you might be better off using something like a shotgun microphone or one of those really high quality podcast microphones that you can see in frame. Because I'm moving around all the time, I'll generally use the wireless one or this one, but if I do use this one and it's on top of camera, I'll ensure that I'm speaking to the camera when I'm quite close to it. I'm not kind of far away. Now that we've got our main visuals kind of locked in, a bonus tip is to really put some effort into the B-roll that you capture. Creating something visually engaging involves showing what you're doing, not just telling. So even though you might be shooting a locked off angle of you talking and presenting all of the value to camera, if you can just take extra time to capture B-roll of the things that you're talking about and overlay that while you're explaining it, it creates much more of an immersive experience for the viewers. So when you're talking about something, just capture a few different shots of the relevant thing that you're busy discussing, and you can play that over your clip. It can be anything. If you are maybe doing a cooking channel and you're making something, you can be talking about it to your main camera like this the whole time, but make sure to get a few different shots, maybe some close-ups of the thing you're cooking, maybe a few different examples of things you're adding. Maybe it's extra ingredients for your recipe. You can have shots of those different ingredients, whatever it is, but just capture those and overlay them. Creates a much more interesting experience for the viewer. Quick little bonus tip here. If you're a beginner starting out and you do manage to capture your footage in a really nice and visually stimulating way, that's only half the battle. The other half is editing. And editing is the absolute hardest and most time-consuming part of the content creation process. I know that, being a full-time creator for more than the last 10 years. And because I had that exact problem, I created an editing agency that handles all of your edits in the most easiest, streamlined way. It's a monthly subscription. You get unlimited video edits. You just send through your raw footage 1 to 3 days later, depending on the complexity of your project. You get that back and it's ready to upload. If you want to check it out, there's limited seats right now available at a 70% early bird discount. Jump on it. Don't waste your time editing videos. Spend all that extra time making your visuals look good and spend it on high return tasks like scripting, content planning, or any other aspect of the creation part, but definitely not editing. Okay, that is gonna be it for this one. I hope you found this useful. Good luck with setting up your little YouTube studio. Remember to be creative and experimental. Just try different angles, different things, and just keep those basic composition rules in mind. Other than that, if you want to find out anything about the gear that I've mentioned in this video, it is all linked down in the description. There are affiliate links, as this video is sponsored by K&F Concept, but these are the tools that I actually like to use. I will see you in the next one.